No later than 6:32, Richard Holden.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Speaker. It's always a pleasure but an unusual pleasure to have to follow my honourable friends, the member of Stoke North. I'd like to first of all give a shout out to so many people in my constituency who have absolutely gone the extra mile during this coronavirus pandemic, whether it's the staff at the local hospitals at Weardale Hospital or at Shotley Bridge, the fantastic work of local doctors in care homes, the people at Hunger Hangout in Ledgate, who I'll be visiting over the summer recess, the people at Glenroyd House who've been who've been making scrubs for doctors and also helping out with food parcels, and also just so many local groups from Maiden Law to Wearhead. I'd just like to say a huge thank you to everything that they've done. I'd also like to say thank you so much to the government front bench who've come to visit my constituency over the last few months. Unfortunately, the Northern Powerhouse Minister who came to visit is no longer in place. The Environment Secretary who came to visit is no longer in place, which, when I informed the party chairman of this the other day, she was rather worried. However, I don't want to discourage any other government ministers from coming to North West Durham, and I've extended the invitation already to the Defence Procurement Minister to come and visit Cooks in Stanhope, who make the tracks for all our armoured fighting vehicles. I've got a commitment from the Health Secretary at some point to come and visit Shotley Bridge Hospital, because we're desperate for a new community hospital there, and also the Education Secretary or one of his team to come and visit the excellent Derwentsside College, who produce such fantastic vocational education for young people. Shotley Bridge is my top campaign, but my second big local campaign has been for a feasibility study into getting a transport train link or a guided bus link back into Consett. We're one of the largest populations in the country without access to a fixed public transport system, and I'm really hoping to hear good news later in the summer from the Department of Transport. So if the Minister could possibly give them a bit of a nudge, I'd be most grateful, as would my constituents. My predecessor as Member of Parliament for North West Durham said that she didn't have any friends who were Tories, but since I've joined this House, I'd like to think that I've at least made two friends on the opposition benches. One of those members is the member for Hackney South and Shoreditch, who's the head of my committee, the Public Accounts Committee, she allowed me to work very closely with my honourable friendly member for North West Norfolk on to lead on the National Audit Office report and then the PAC report looking into gambling harm. And that brings me to the other member I'd like to think that I can now call a friend, the member for Swansea East, who gave a very passionate speech earlier on and a very emotional one, and I'm glad to see that she's still in her place. I really hope that the government later this year will come forwards with legislation to look at how we can look at the Gambling Act again after the review, which is due to take place. I think it's a really important thing that the country needs to look at. It's a huge issue for many people in many constituencies across the country, particularly the poorest and the most vulnerable. And I'd just like to finish on two other small things. First of all, I'd like to thank the government for listening to me on the motorhomes tax earlier this year. The people of Eldis, workers at Eldis, are most grateful. And I'd also like to thank them for finally putting forward the removal of the toilet tax, because in my role as co-chair of the APPG on local democracy, that's meant an awful lot to a lot of really hard-stretched local councils. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker.
Chris Stevens.